How's it going, everyone? It's GadgetsBoy. Welcome to another video. In this one, we're going to be looking at the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. So this is my review, but not a review in a sense like your traditional review. This is literally my experience with the device since I've had it. So all the things that I've experienced with the camera in general, like, design, all that kind of stuff. For me, the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra is a really powerful smartphone, and on paper, it's got everything you need in a smartphone. And this is basically a powerhouse. It can do everything you need it to be, whether it's photography, whether it's video, whether it's doing your work on the go, whether it's gaming, you name it. This phone can do everything, and it's expensive for that as well, for what it is. But without a doubt, without any further chat, without any further chat, let's get into it, and we'll start with the design. The Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra has a large display for media consumption, so gaming, loaded a couple of applications side by side. It has a refined camera as well when you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. I think people that may have been following me before, they will know that the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra camera for me was quite disappointing. The S20 Ultra was meant to be that ultimate photography device for Samsung, I believe, but trying to do too much and not making the software and hardware communicate and integrate seamlessly resulted in a device with subpar camera performance for the price point. The Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra addresses some of those issues, especially when it comes to things like zoom and focus, etc. In fact, for a Samsung Galaxy Note series fan, I think they haven't added a lot to the S Pen features, for example, and not a lot's been added to the device itself. But I think for what they've done, this subtle upgrade, I'm still a fan. It still managed to grab my attention. I mean, it's still in my hands. I'm still using it till today for a lot of things that I do daily, whether it's I'm planning a campaign, whether it's me just using it to play a game or watch movies or whatever. I'm using this phone a lot. It doesn't mean though that I don't have issues with it. I do have some issues with it, which I'll talk about. But in terms of design, this thing looks amazing. Like, I love this color, the Mystic Bronze color. I think it's a color that if they continue to do it, it's something that I would always get a Samsung device in, whether it's my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2, I got it in the same color as well. And even the Galaxy Buds, not a fan of the shiny material on that, but I still like that Mystic Bronze color. And I love the matte finishing as well. It feels really nice in hand. It's very nice and soft. So that's pretty cool. One thing I will say though is the corners, in terms of design, I'm not a massive fan of, because the corners are quite sharp. And for a heavy phone, when you start gaming on this, it starts digging into your palms if you're holding it for too long, and it's time to leave and put it down. And with One UI operating system on there, the skin on there, they've actually designed it so it's one-handed friendly as well. So if you want to use this one-handed, there are one-handed operation mode that you can do as well. Especially in settings, when you drag it down, you can see that everything's right to the bottom of the screen. So it's easy to reach with one hand there as well. Another thing is the camera bump. It's a massive bump on the back. It kind of raises quite high, but if you stick a case on it, it gets rid of that bump technically, so you find without having to worry about that phone sticking out and balancing on a flat surface. It doesn't do that bouncy bits that you normally get. You get in-screen fingerprint sensor and Face ID unlock as well. It works really well most of the times. Sometimes it doesn't pick my finger up straight away. Face unlock works intermittently. Like, sometimes it works really well when it wants to. It's like it's got a mind of its own. But I like the fact that once you start using that fingerprint sensor over time, you get used to where it actually is on the screen. So you just press it without even realizing that it's there already. You don't see it before you press it, kind of thing. One thing I find funny though is because it's so symmetrical in the design, the way that it is, sometimes I pick it up upside down and I'm pressing the screen to unlock it, but it's actually the other way around. But that's quite an interesting thing to talk about there. You got your front-facing camera on the front as well. Nice little hole punch thing going on here. It doesn't take too much of the display, especially when gaming. It doesn't really interrupt your immersive experience or realism. So that's pretty cool. So besides that, some people might not like it, some people might like it, but I'm over it now. I'm over that front-facing camera situation. Whether it's hole punch, whether it's in a corner, wherever they want to put it, just put it there. I'm over it. In terms of resolution, you have a WQHD plus resolution. You have 120 Hertz dynamic refresh. You got 496 PPI. It runs on Android 11 with One UI 2.5. You have 12 gig of RAM. And this one here has 256 gig of internal storage, of which you can also expand it as well. There's a 512 gigabyte floating RAM, but I think it's just another region. I'm not totally sure there, but your best bet is just to get a micro SD card and expand it with up to a terabyte extra on top of whatever storage you go for. The rear cameras are made up of 108 megapixel / 12 megapixel lens, standard. You got 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens and 12 megapixel telephoto lens and laser autofocus. On the front, as I mentioned briefly, it's a 10 megapixel shooter. It has 4,400 milliamp hour battery in here as well and supports super fast charge, but you don't get a super fast charger in the box. It's IP68 water and dust resistant as well, so this is quite robust in that sense as well. This adds to the top of the list of things that I say about this, like what makes this device all round just great for everything that you want to do. Adding to that as well, you also get the latest Corning Gorilla Glass on there as well, Invictus they called it. Alexa, stop. And so far, even with the screen protector on it, I haven't really seen any scratches on this at all. So that's good news for me. The screen protector is good as well. Usually they bubble up and scratch really badly that you need to peel it off straight away. But I've had mine on since day one and it's still going really well. In its brain, you have Exynos 990 in the UK, and if you're in the US, you get Snapdragon 865 Plus inside. And that's a big issue because the processor is very important, as you may or may not know, but getting that Exynos processor in there, it just makes this inferior to the Snapdragon version. So I wish I could get the Snapdragon version and actually use that, but unfortunately that won't support 5G here for me, and I like using my 5G services here. But with Exynos 990 in here, you do have some trade-offs, which I'll talk about just in a bit as well. But overall, everything you're looking at £1,179 for the 256 gig version and £1,279 for the 512 gigabyte edition, depending on where you're located. But check with your service provider for different bundles, because some of them might offer the new Samsung Galaxy Buds Live with it as well. So do check with your service provider or wherever you're purchasing it from. Some experiences with it. Hopefully I haven't bored you too much with all the techie bits that you guys can Google already and find out what they are, or watch my hands-on video. Tells you all the specifications and all the details that you need to know. But my experience with it, let's get on with that. First, with that display, I think this is actually the best display money can buy on a smartphone right now. I love the AMOLED, Super AMOLED display. It looks fantastic. You get WQHD+. My only downside here is you won't be able to use WQHD+ mode with 120 Hz refresh rate. So you'd have to drop it down to Full HD+ in order to use that. So again, if you're a massive gamer or someone you might actually notice that a lot when you're using it day to day, I think you're okay. The only thing is though, if you stick it to WQHD+ anyway, you're going to be burning through your battery like nobody's business. So I actually think having Full HD+ with less than 120 Hz display refresh rate is actually completely okay with me, considering with the Exynos processor in there anyway, battery life is lacking. The other issue that I had with this is this curved edges here. I'm not a big fan of it because I experience a lot of palm rejection issues. So for example, even with the S Pen, when I'm trying to take a screen grab on here with the S Pen, what you find is when I'm trying to get to the corners of the smartphone, it recognizes it with my gestures turned on. It recognizes it as a back swipe, which can be annoying, especially, don't judge me, when I'm playing Candy Crush, for example, when I'm trying to swipe my candies across, sometimes it recognizes it as a swipe across gesture to go back to the home screen, and that can be really, really annoying. I wish that wasn't an issue. I would have preferred a flat screen, to be honest, but curved screen looks sexier. But overall, the screen looks really vibrant. It looks really sharp. Looks really nice when you plug it into the Xbox gaming controller, which I've got there. Plug it in. It looks really nice, fantastic playing Forza, for example. And it also looks really good when I'm editing on Adobe Lightroom. Colors are really nice. I get accurate colors there, close enough. Good wide color gamuts there as well. So for me, it just looks fantastic. I couldn't ask for anything better in terms of display quality and what it allows me and empowers me to do with the display. Onto the camera, I think the camera is fantastic. Like I said before, they've added laser autofocus on here, which works really well. But the issue where you get here is that you get 5 times optical zoom. Again, that's not an issue, but I like that it's 5 times optical zoom, and you get 50 times digital now, so space zoom. They've got rid of that 100 times. Well, it wasn't on this before, but I was expecting them to bring it over from the S20 series with the S20 Ultra, but I'm glad that they didn't do that. So with the 50 times, it's still usable. I use it a lot for checking parking signs. When I can't be bothered to get out the car, I just point at the parking signs from the car. I can see what time I'm allowed to park there and that kind of stuff. And I have some fun with it as well. Sometimes I look through the window and I can see planes going across and all that kind of stuff, and have fun with it. Take some photos doing that. But with the 5 times optical zoom, it's really good. It works really well. Where I experience some issues is between zooms. So for example, if I'm going from between 1x and 5x zoom, the quality of the picture looks horrible. And between 5x and the next level and the next level above, it just looks horrible. I don't know why. I think the smartphone doesn't recognize when to switch lenses and which lens to use for what. Another thing is, when I close camera app and go back into it, it doesn't reset back to what it was. So if I'm in a rush and I'm trying to get a picture before I miss the moment and I double tap to take a picture, what you get is what was previously used, maybe 5x zoom, but that might not be what I wanted to use at that point. Another thing is that shutter lag as well. Shutter lag is an issue for me. So a lot of the time I see a moment, I'm like, where's my phone? Let me quickly get a photo, double tap the power button. And before I know it, the moment's gone because it just takes ages to load or takes ages to actually capture what I'm trying to do. A good example of this is one time I saw a car that I wanted to take a picture of, but there are cars driving past as well. And what I was trying to do is get a picture of the car without getting the moving cars in. And by the time I pressed the shutter button, the car that was moving, that was there, by the time the phone caught up, the car was in shot, which ruined that shot for me. But I experienced that a lot with the camera, which is something I wish they can update, maybe via software update or something. Or maybe it's that Exynos processor that's causing that, who knows. Autofocus is great, but the only time I find issues with the autofocus is when shooting in low light situation. It struggles to focus there, and there's a lot of light hunting for what it's meant to be focusing on and focusing off, not focusing on. But object tracking is really good. It picks it up really well. And another thing is, yes, you get 108 megapixel high resolution photos, which looks really good, by the way, but it just takes up more memory space in your phone. But unless you have that extra 1 terabyte storage micro SD card in there, then there's no point putting that high resolution mode on. But if you're creative out there and you want something that you can do a lot with later on, then do so. You can also shoot 8K videos with this. I didn't really use that at all because it's not really my thing to shoot on phones anyway. And what I do with my phone in terms of shooting for TikTok or Instagram stories, I do not need 100. I don't need 8K for that. But the benefit of having that 8K is you can then go back to it and take stills from that in still good resolution. So again, that's a bonus if that's something that you do. I think we've all come to that conclusion that it's a powerful device. Like, multitasking is great. There's no stutter at all. I'm happy with it in terms of that, what it can do. I can load multiple applications at the same time and not even feel like anything's happening to the processor or anything like that. I know Exynos 990 gets a lot of slack in comparison to the Snapdragon counterpart, but I actually think this is absolutely fine. Where it really lacks, where it's noticeable, is battery. And I say that because for a techie person who does tech reviews, it's easy for me to go, oh, well, in comparison to a Snapdragon so-and-so, it doesn't do this, or it's slightly faster or whatever. But the average consumer or people that will buy this don't have that experience. They don't have nothing to compare to. So they will never say this is slower or anything like that. But where they will actually notice it, whether they've used another device before or not, would be that battery consumption. And on this, the battery just goes. It just drinks it like water. And I know people share screen on times, and screen on times looks amazing, but let's go in the real world, and this doesn't last me past 8 p.m, 9 p.m. every night. Then I have to charge it again to get. Thankfully, you get super fast charge to get it back up and running real quick. But the main issue is if I'm out and about and I don't have my charger with me or battery pack, then I run into that issue of my battery running out by 8 p.m. or I'm starting to worry about it. And that's on optimized mode, full HD plus 120 hertz refresh rate. And when I turn 120 hertz refresh rate off, yes, I see a little bit of better in terms of battery consumption. It's better, it's improved, but it's still not as good as something that I'm paying £1,000 plus for. I've used other smartphone. I've got other smartphone here that I use as well for reviews and stuff. They've done much better, and they don't cost as much as this. So that's a bit of a shame for me, but again, I love the device too much to put it down to that and not use it again. So I still use it. But hopefully, like we've seen the Galaxy S20 FE, the Fan Edition, the one that we got here has a Snapdragon processor in there. So hopefully the next Note series will have a Snapdragon version with 5G that we can actually use here and enjoy that better battery life and battery consumption. Those asking me what I do in terms of battery consumption as well, things like emails, a lot of social media, a lot of Candy Crush gaming. Again, don't judge me. A lot of photos, editing photos on here, transferring files, editing, quick edit on social media and there. I just do all those usual things that anyone would do that gets a smartphone like this. With the S Pen, it's fantastic as always. I wouldn't change anything on the S Pen. It does the job. I'm not sure why they've swapped which side it goes on here. It's actually quite annoying sometimes because the menu itself is on that side and then the pen is on this side. So it works with two hands, like taking it out with one hand and then using it. But before, I just liked the fact that I could just take it out and use it on the same side. But it still works. You can use it as a remote shutter, for example. You can do hand gestures with it now and do, you know, wave it like a magic wand kind of thing to do stuff. But I'd never use it for those things. I still mainly use it for creating GIFs, using it Samsung Galaxy Notes, which is really good. Notes application is fantastic, by the way. You can import images, you can save as PDF, save as Microsoft Word document, save as PowerPoint file. It's very much more integrated now, more than ever before. And that's really advantageous for people who use this for work, as a workforce on the go. You also have Samsung DeX as well, which works wirelessly now as well. It works really well, providing you have the right network setup in place. And I think that's, again, something that's a power user feature that really works really well. And I'm glad they kept that and are still working on it and improving it and making it something that's actually useful and functional for someone like me. With Samsung DeX, if you don't have the right setup, it just means you get a lot of lag if you try and game with this. And I've tried gaming with it before and it works fine with my network setup, but for most people, probably not. But if you're doing things like using it as a mouse on the screen and, you know, PowerPoint slide, or even watching a movie that's on here on your bigger screen, then it works just fine. It works, it's more than enough. Overall, like I said, it's got everything. It's packing everything that you need this to be a power device, and it really is. But my issue, again, is just mainly the battery life and some issues with focusing here and there with the camera and stuff and white balance, etc. But I think camera is great all around. The device gets a really solid 4-star out of 5 from me, and it's something that I'd recommend any day if you can get over that battery issue. Just get a supercharger and wireless, a battery pack, and then you'll be fine. But I know that's not something that everyone wants to do when you pay more than £1,000 for your smartphone. Okay, so that's it for the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. Guys, let me know what you think about the review in the comments below. If you have any questions as well, drop them there. If there's anything that you want to ask me about my experience that I may have missed, drop them there as well. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification as well if you haven't already, so you'll be one of the first people to know every time there's a video up on the channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you guys in the next one.